I'm going to call the meeting to order. Any citizens' input? One of these days, we're going to have a citizen here. Any delegations? Minutes. We have a motion to approve. We didn't have a meeting last month, so need September's minutes. They're on the projector, so one of you three can make a motion to approve the minutes. Thanks, Joe. And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Minutes are approved. Financial reports.
Which way you want to start?
Just start at the top. For some reason, my computer will not come up, so I'm gonna have to go off of there. If anybody's got any questions, yeah, probably go to the next one. Cemetery, we're not quite sure if we'll quite hit revenue numbers by the end of the year. We'll be close. Columbarium lots are way behind. We just had a lot last year. We do have a family that's looking at 3 columbarium niches, so that would bring us at least up to our budget number. Cemetery openings, a little bit above. Lot sales, a little bit behind yet. Saturday funerals were about what we were last year, not quite our budget number. So, a columbarium line is where we're way behind last year, so. Don't want. As far as expenses, we're doing pretty good on pretty much everywhere there. Weed eater supplies, we went over just a little bit, but otherwise, we should be pretty good and not going over hardly anything. But our total dollar amount should be below. So, part-timers will be done this week. So, I'm still looking for a mower, that we've been looking for a year and a half, so, haven't given up on that yet, so. If anybody's got questions, just holler. Go ahead and go to the next one. As far as revenue, this is to the end of September.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
September.
Yeah, this is the end of September, so this isn't even the end of October. 551. We have October on here too.
I'm looking.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll just breeze through September then, and unless you guys just want to see October and see where we're at for totals, so. So we ended September at 551,000 for revenue, which is actually already, by the end of September, we were already over last year, end of year, so. As far as expenses, I've over on a few items. They're typical items I don't have a whole lot of control over. The golf contract, that's a good thing if we're over in that, so means we're up in revenue. So the tractor, or the rental that is for the tractor that originally wasn't in the budget. It was in, but it was in a different part. So we got it put in this, so that's the reason why that is over, because it wasn't there in the first place. And then the utilities are over. So like I said, mainly things I don't have a whole lot of control over. So. So that's kind of where we are. At that point, we were at 143,000 to the good from revenue to expenses. So that's a good thing to have. I think we can go on. Go to October.
Cemetery.
Or yeah, back to cemetery. October, or September. Or yeah, sorry.
It's better right.
Probably go down to the next unless somebody has questions. There you can see revenue, we're a little closer to our revenue numbers, balance, or at 32,000. Like I said, we're going to be cutting it close to getting to that 137,000 for revenue. May or may not get there. As far as expenses, there again, and since this was out there, we've spent some more of it, so we're a little tighter now, but so. Go on. Golf. You'll see these numbers will be fairly close on the revenue side on what our end date will be. We're at 572 by the end of October. We're going to be kind of pushing that 600 by the time we get November and December in. I was kind of hoping we might hit that 600 number, but probably won't quite make it. As you see, all those in parentheses on the right side, those are all above revenue budget numbers, so that's all. So that's a good thing. Cart rental way up, greens fees way up, driving range, regular range balls are way up, but we're also up on range memberships. We still have probably 10,000 to come in and memberships. So that number will be about 10,000 higher. So.
Did it help getting new range balls? Did people want to use it much more?
I think so.
It had something to do with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people out there.
Yeah.
And having new range balls, people are more apt to want to get range balls.
Yeah. And I have it in the budget for next year to get another bunch, so. As you can see here, as far as expenses, there again, some of these line items, insurance, contract, the tractor deal. By the time we're done with the year, there'll be a few more that go over by a little bit, but in all, I still should be under budget with taking from other areas and everything, so. With permission, of course. There we went down to 95,000, but in that, we paid for one of the greens mower that we got. So that's what took that down a ways. Otherwise, we'd still be up. And as we go into the fall, obviously, we start losing revenue. So that kind of gets eaten away until we start bringing in revenue again, so.
So I think I brought this up at the other meeting about this, but why does the 570 count against this? that the city's giving us for the renovations.
I won't try to explain it.
Okay. It just doesn't make any sense. I could see it being an expense on the city side, but it should be a revenue on our side. I'm sure there's an accounting reason for that, but it doesn't, I don't know.
Where would that show up? Jeff, that you're talking about,
Right
that
there.
5.7? Okay, I see it.
I'm sure it's the balance of budget, isn't it?
Hmm.
The city's general fund to our
Good question.
funds.
So it's a capital outlay that we are utilizing, but it doesn't show anywhere in here where it's,
An inflow.
where that comes from. It's just an
Well, like
automatic.
where it gets put in to be taken out?
Yeah,
Yeah. And I'm not an accountant, but,
not either.
yeah, I mean, you think it would, somewhere it's got to show where it's being put in so it can be taken out.
I
like
just
you
see
would think.
this line that says revenue under expenditures, and we're $789,000 in the red.
Now, yes, but we're not spending that this year, so, but, yeah, and I know what you're saying, I'm just saying.
It's coming out at some point.
I agree, yep.
It's, I mean, it looks bad. I don't know how else to. Anyway,
Well, I mean, I'll just say it from a standpoint of, I would like that to not ever be used against us. Like, I'll call it the elephant in the room.
that never happened.
If there's no questions on, beyond that, we'll go to the bills.
Yeah, let's go to the bills.
Um, yeah, I didn't see anything there that was. Signs, not sure what that was, but.
No, it's doing just October. You can go back to September as well.
The 43,000, that is the greens mower. Utilities, contract, yeah, nothing. Last load of sand.
Is that your new sand source?
Yes.
Are you happy with it?
There's some little things I don't like about it, but I'm probably going to take some samples of it here before I put it out and maybe send it in to get tested, make sure it's where I need it to be along the whole spectrum of it. Because you can get it too fine and it can seal everything off, and that's not good to have, so.
Here we're back to September. Cemetery.
I don't, off the top of my head, I don't remember having anything out of the ordinary.
This top one would be a little bit out of the ordinary.
We had a double payment, or a double payment of columbarium from one of the funeral homes. Family came in and purchased, and it didn't get, and then the funeral home came in and said put it on their bill. Well, by the time we caught it, it was already through the system, so we had to refund one of them.
The September golf course.
The golf balls, Eric had gotten those, so that was reimbursing him for those, essentially. Seeing how it's through his rep, it was easier to get it through that than, otherwise.
See nothing else there.
All right, motion to approve the bills.
So moved.
Thanks, Joel. Second? Thanks, Joe. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Bills have been approved. Clubhouse report. Mr. Heap.
Yes, just going through revenue parts of it, looking back at this spring, getting open April 10th. I mean, in the 9 years I've been here, this is the first year we haven't opened up in March. One of the years we opened up February 27th. So, I mean, we didn't know where we were going to be at revenue numbers, so obviously the year tells for itself how much more busy the golf course is, any golf course is. With this October, it was a little slower this October. Last year we had the state AA boys tournament. We had kind of up and down weather, and then it came to a pretty abrupt end at the end of October. We got that snow and cold temps, and now we've been open again for a couple weeks, and will be this week. It's been decent days here with some play. 20 golfers today. This last weekend was 29 and 32, but that November 4th and 5th we had very good numbers, 67 and 75. So there's really no events that were in October this year. So I mean, having that state AA boys tournament, that was a $4,500 payment just from the state AA plus all the other stuff on top of that, range balls and a few cart rentals to spectators and stuff. So October could have been better, but with not having the state AA tournament, shows on the revenue side. For me, I'm finishing up some inventory stuff, cleaning up clubhouse and just being open. Right now we're open from 11 till basically sunset, dark now. The window to play is pretty small right now, especially with temps being colder in the mornings and getting dark so early. Total rounds for the year, 25,236 and counting with these last few days, and that doesn't include some of those November days. So that's really all I got. I got the rounds and membership numbers for the year with punch card numbers, range punch cards, numbers like that. So any questions from my side?
You gotta be ready for a break.
Yeah, it's all right though.
Probably had a little bit in October, but
Yeah.
it's a good year.
Hopefully it continues the trend it's at, because April 10th when we opened up, it was like we lost a whole basically month of golf. I didn't know where we'd be at come the end of the year, but hopefully it keeps trending towards what it is right now.
Well, judging by the families and kids that are out there, I'm guessing we're gonna ride this wave for a while.
And I did, when we opened back up November 4th and 5th, so we were at 10-minute tee times, and we had been at 8 minutes before COVID, went to 10 minutes. I went to 9-minute tee times. I don't know if anybody's looked online booking and stuff, but it adds, I think, 1 or 2 tee times per hour going to 9 minutes. And I'll keep that till next spring.
What percentage of people use carts? You talk about cramming these tee times closer together.
What percentage? 95%. There's only about regular walkers, about 4, 5 of them, 2 of them today. No, all 4 of them played today, that walk, but everybody else, carts, there might be a few public green fee people that'll come over and walk, but very little. Everybody's riding because they want to get done as fast as they can. They don't want to be out for a stroll in the park.
And we did about 20,000 more this year than we did last year in cart revenue, so.
Saw $158,000
Yeah.
in carts.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I didn't have Eric's report on all this chocolate. Could you do it all again, please?
Yep, I'll do it all again. Add another half hour.
No, you're good.
Yeah,
Great year.
it was good. I mean, the punch cards, we added those 18-hole punch cards in there this year. So, I mean, we got 11 of them that included the cart and 2 of them without carts, so. And I think, like I tell Jason, I mean, the range punch cards, maybe 50% of people actually use them up completely.
I mean, like when they buy like 25 buckets, using all 25
Yeah.
buckets.
They'll use 11, 12 buckets and not use the rest of them.
Do you have a lot of that? Bought another 25?
Yep. There's probably, probably 10 to 15 people bought a 10 bucket pass and then bought another one. Yeah, so, and all the events went well this year from a review standpoint. I mean, had the 2-man back in June, seems like forever ago, but all the leagues, Men's Day, Ladies' Day, seemed to go good. I don't know, most of you guys playing some of that stuff, so you can tell me if it didn't go good.
Haven't heard a bad thing all year.
Good. Course was always good. Makes life easier. So that's all I got. I don't know if you need to approve the report or.
No.
No, you're good. You approved it.
Thanks, Eric. Jason?
Obviously, I blew out irrigation. We reopened last weekend. We had pretty fair revenue, not great, but fair revenue for November last weekend. This weekend, not quite as much. As of right now, I only have the flags out, and that's it. If people want to go out and play, that's great. If they don't like it, they don't have to play. So. Anything right now is bonus time, so. We completed fairway aerification. That went well. I did a little bit different unit that I had sitting in the boneyard and tried it out, and I thought it worked well. I think it's not actually pulling plugs, but I think in the long run it'll be a better operation. We start watering greens again last weekend, or this last week, and I'm continuing this week until I seal them up. I'm pulling from 13 bathroom, the clubhouse, and the shop, and trying to get what I can reach with hoses, so found out I can reach quite a ways, so can't quite get them all, but got quite a few. Yeah, so with a little bit higher temperatures here, that's what I'm more concerned about. They're not dry right now, but if we don't get some moisture, that's more what I'm worried about. So I'm trying to give them a little bit of a buffer. Probably put down snow mold protection this week and put the sand on. So that'll pretty much close down play. But again, just kind of watching the weather, and when I decide to pull the trigger, we'll pull the trigger. So I have most of the trees marked that need to come down, but just kind of waiting for some frost to get in the ground, so cause as little damage as possible. I did send the new greens mower back. There was a bearing issue, and where it was for me to tear into it, I was just like, they can take it back and they can deal with it. So it's not a huge deal. It was not holding the grease in, and it was just constantly letting some grease out. So still have no word on the other greens mower. So hopefully we have an answer on that. Chopping leaves and doing fall work on the golf course. I don't know if anybody's for the cemetery, I don't know if anybody's driven down Indian Village Road. The guys for the cemetery have been working on a wall in the ditch there. They finished up today. We might do 2 more blocks to kind of make it finish a little bit better. That project was an agreement between the Calvary Cemetery and the golf course or the cemetery. The Catholic cemetery is providing all the block and we're installing them, so. There is another section that was kind of agreed to, but we decided that we'll probably let somebody else do that. It's a little bit bigger wall and taller, and the other part of that is if we do it, it'll go beyond that northeast corner, and if it is done, it's probably the time if the city wants to do it that we would want to go further, so then there would be some cost to the city too, so. So that may or may not ever happen, so. Calvary Cemetery, they did extend Block 9, so there's more spots for them. That's that first one when you come in the gate. Finishing up fall work, chopping leaves, packing graves. Our cemetery guys passed the CDL. We did do a small project for draining the water system in the cemetery, and that included buying some ball valves, and we dug them out further, and it should simplify significantly the draining in the fall. Marking corners and making and marking corners for the lots in the cemeteries to make them easier to find to sell lots for the winter, through the winter, so. Other than that, just kind of doing what Mother Nature allows us to do as long as we can, and before we start working on equipment.
What are you doing here?
Just have stitches. But I'm so dedicated, I still came in.
What a gamer.
Just came from urgent care.
Somebody wasn't speaking into their mic.
Should come set it straight.
The curve was bigger, but they had to speak, so the minutes would be taken that way, because I may not be very accurate otherwise.
You shouldn't play with scissors when you're talking.
I'm telling you, when I'm sneezing.
So I guess as far as anything else on, like I said, we'll probably try to start sealing up the golf course this week, but who knows what Mother Nature's gonna say about that, so.
Well, as far as from the public standpoint, I mean, 0 complaints. Nothing but praise, both on the cemetery side, on the golf course side, on Eric's side. Couldn't be happier with what you guys have done. At all. And it knocked it out of the park again. So great job.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that thanked me at the clubhouse, but thanked Jason too for basically opening up in November here, when obviously it could have just been shut down, and so.
Well, that's huge to even that small group of people to be able to utilize that during that time frame. That's awesome.
Anybody else local open? Like even like the Fish Lakes or anything like that, like are those
Not
guys?
that I'm aware of. I haven't heard anything or seen
haven't
anything.
heard either.
or-
I know I talked to the guy in Pier today, and they closed yesterday. But that's kind of that's their drop dead date.
Fish Lake's open year round. I played on ice
golf cart definition. We talked about this at our last meeting that we had, and more discussion, I guess, on it. I had Jason do some research on what actually constitutes a golf cart, because we've got some hybrids that are starting to show up, so try
So,
and get ahead of it.
so what I've kind of trying to narrow it down, I think we can go by a couple things just to make it simplified. Tires, speed, and make it so that it's a unit that when you take your foot off the gas, it shuts off. When you put your foot on the gas, it goes. It's not something that you turn on a key and it stays running all the time. I think those couple things is kind of what we'll kind of put into it, and then essentially just make it, make sure that we have the ability to make a judgment call on it. But I think those three things, if we limit the speed to no more than 20 mile an hour, there are a couple carts that go a little faster than that, but I think it's a reasonable number. No all-terrain tires, and then that other option of that, I think that's gonna, and we can always modify it, but I think that's gonna be the easiest way rather than trying to say, you can only have tires this tall and only this width, and I think it's just gonna be too complicated.
Ones they're trying to bring on are they smooth tires like your golf carts?
So we had a request from somebody, they hadn't purchased it yet, but they wanted permission to purchase it. But they told Eric what it was, and essentially it's a UTV, which I looked it up and I looked at it, I watched a little video on it, and it's not exactly quiet. It's quieter than a Ranger, but it's, when you, like I said, when you turn it on, it's on. And as far as speed, if it goes over 20 miles an hour, as far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't be out there, so. So I guess we're just trying to head it off the pass. There is one or two golf carts out there already that maybe have a little marginal tires on them. Since we've allowed, we probably need to just kind of, but they're not super aggressive, but just, they're not a typical golf cart tire either, so.
There's just a lot of new golf carts that are not being invented, but I mean, like an ATV with a golf or golf club rack on
Yes,
it.
ATVs got shredded.
Yeah.
But they're making golf carts that, I mean, look exactly like an off-road
Yeah.
ATV.
But they're marketing this as a golf cart. So, and that's kind of the dividing line here where we just need to make sure where we're at. So,
So are you gonna have a definition for us to
Yes.
approve?
yep. Yep, I knew we had time and I hadn't gotten that all together yet, so, everybody's okay with what I'm saying here, that's good enough? I feel like it's good enough, so I just,
Yeah.
so,
Sounds good.
You brought up the point about the engine stopping when you come to it.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, the new Dodge pickups do that.
So do the GMs.
yeah.
Drives me crazy.
So, I mean, like I said, if we got to, I mean, if they get something, but that's where I'm saying it should be a little bit of wiggle room where it's kind of at our discretion if something's marginal, and if somebody doesn't like that we have it that way, they can always come to you guys to
Right.
appeal it. So. And I think most people, I mean, if you're reasonable about it, I think they understand. But I just don't want to get to the point where we get somebody that's just trying to squeeze something in that's marginal.
So I guess my question is that some future meeting, you're going to have us a
Yes.
document that, okay, good.
Yep.
And I think you're right on track with what you're talking about. Just
Yep.
word it accordingly and.
Yep. Okay.
Good. Any other input on that? Phase 2 discussion.
I really don't have a lot on this. It was just, I'm going to be doing some tree removal. I do have that one tee box started, and that'll be for preparation. I'm looking at a couple different options for temporary greens. And then when we get to that point of construction, I think that's going to be the only time where we won't have 18 full regular greens. I think up to it, and until we get down to number 11, that time period, which will be probably less than 30 days, we might have like something out in the fairway. Otherwise, as soon as that construction's done, I think we can utilize some of our current greens just so we're playing around construction. I think we'll have everything pretty good. I mean, it's going to be par threes and whatnot, but I don't think anybody's going to have a whole lot to complain about at that point. So we're going to try to keep that time frame as small as possible and keep I mean, it might be something interesting to be playing to something from a different angle, or we'll try to make it interesting. And so I guess that's all I had, unless somebody had questions. Just explaining kind of where we're at and stuff, so.
Refresh my memory, so that 30-day period is going to be what part of the season?
So we will, on the new par 3, that will start middle of July. So that will be being worked on up until member guest. So number 15 for the member guest will be par 4. From the new
tee box
tee
in the
box.
corner.
Yep.
No, from the tee box that have you been out there since he built that tee box?
No.
So there's a new tee box in the trees up by the long fescue grass.
Yeah, at the corner there,
Yeah.
at the bend, yeah.
Yep. So that will be the blues and whites, and then the reds and golds will be kind of up on the corner of the fairway. So, and then as soon as the member guest is over, that's when they'll dig into everything else.
Gotcha.
So essentially, August will be where that month will pretty much be where we may have 1 or 2 temporary greens in the fairway. So. And hopefully, I'm kind of hoping that number 14, the new par 3, that'll all be seeded and everything when the member guest starts, so people can see, hey, this is what's going to be, and kind of be able to see it as they're driving by.
Will it be playable next year?
June,
The new 14?
yeah, all of it should be. Now, weather permitting, and I mean, if we don't have any huge washouts, everything, the reason why we went middle of July is to have the best chance possible to be open by that, hopefully the first part of June, but there again,
Next year, yeah.
of 25.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it won't be playable next year.
No.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep. So,
I think we should have a ceremonial tee shot though on that hole when it's finished. We're going to have a board meeting out there.
Our own closest to the pin competition?
Yeah.
so, unless if anybody had any questions on that, that's all I had.
I don't, other than I have a statement to make, I guess, about the Phase 2, in case you're not aware. It it's still in the budget process from what I understand, but we are contributing, it's either 140 or 160,000. It was tossed around a little bit out of our cash to supplement the overrun of what the cost of the project is. This is all back up to the veto and all that stuff. Anyway, it got put in the budget, and so we are funding that part of the project. And at our last meeting, and I was wishing Dan was here, but he's not, obviously, he's out of town, but there was talk about having a fundraiser and all this stuff. Well, I think we just had our fundraiser. We're paying for that out of our cash, which was never brought to this board. It was just done, and it was approved by the council, so done deal.
Could we still do something?
A fundraiser? We could.
But it was originally just, we were supposed to have skin in the game.
And we just put $160,000 worth of skin in the game.
Yeah, when we talked about it, we had proposed covering the contingency, which was going to be about $60-some thousand, and that's what was talked about. But as it turns out, we're covering that and more. We do have the cash to do it. That's not an issue, but it kind of divides away from, I guess what my philosophy was, is building up our reserves enough to contribute to future projects and or rainy day funds if a pump or something goes out, so we don't have to go back to the city and ask, which we've been penalized before for doing. So anyway, it was out of our control, and it is what it is.
And that is still leaving us with some money in our cash account,
Who in the
so.
council came up with the idea?
It wasn't. It was the mayor and the city administrator that put it in the budget. But it was reviewed by the council. The council had their opportunity for input, and they decided to go along with it, so.
What's that leave us for cash?
Oh. No. I believe it's under, I want to say by the time it's all said and done, it'll be under 2. I don't remember.
2-ish,
Yeah,
give or take,
yeah.
a little bit on either end.
No, that ain't coming out until, or technically we'll still have it till the project happens and everything. So, I mean, it's not like it's coming out right now. And we'll have time next year to, hopefully we have a good year and everything next year with the construction stuff. We're being a little bit conservative on some of our numbers, figuring we might get a little bit dinged by the construction people. I don't know if I want to join. I don't know this, that. So we're being a little conservative. I think we'll be all right yet, though. I mean, with our numbers, I'm thinking we'll still be to the good. But we don't want to count on that either, so.
When it comes out, will it come out in one big chunk?
That's my assumption. When the project's ready to, so it'll probably get transferred from cash over to our payables, and then when the bill comes due from the construction company, it'll just all get paid out, so.
Well, what Jeff says, it is what it is, right? But I gotta be honest with you, the lack of communication in this whole thing from beginning to end, from the top down, has been pretty frustrating. To have it be vetoed, and the reason it was vetoed was because we didn't pay for golf carts, only to find out that we did pay for golf carts. To be honest with you, I'm still waiting for my bad on that, from either the the mayor, the city administrator, which whatever it is, what it is, right? But we kind of took a beating on that in the newspaper and just even from people in the public saying, why aren't you paying your bills, right? Only to find out that we did, and then to have it backdoor be, hey, by the way, this $160,000 is coming out of your guys' account, which the city has the right to do, right? Like, I get that.
Yeah, they do.
But I feel like we've been pretty judicious with those funds so that we don't have to come to the council every time we need something, or like Jeff says, a pump goes out, right? That was money that we didn't think was coming from us, and that's fine. It's coming from us. We've got the money that's there. I just want it to be remembered that in my eyes, this was backdoored from this committee, that we had no idea that this money was going to come out of our coffers, which again, that's fine, but I'm still a little bit irked for being accused of not paying for our golf carts to find out that we did. And nobody ever came forward and said, hey, that was our bust. Sorry about that, but here's another bill for $160,000 that you didn't know that you're going to have to pay, right? All of these things that have happened from the veto all the way up until this, they're unforced errors that didn't have to happen or could have still happened, and that would have been just fine. But just a little bit of communication, I think, would have been very welcome. Just somebody picking up a phone or sending out an email saying, hey, this is happening or this is going on, I think would have been much appreciated, at least by me. I don't want to speak for the other board members, but I'm a little taken aback by the lack of communication that's happened throughout this process.
From the top down.
From the very top. Yep. I mean, I understand that we're not here to make decisions, that ultimately it's the city council that makes those decisions. I understand those things. But like, we're supposed to serve a purpose here. And if you don't want us to serve a purpose, that's fine. But it's not why I'm here.
I had one other question that was talked about a little bit. Is there a limit for an enterprise fund as to how much money we can have in our account?
That's a Stephanie and Finance Department question. I heard her talking about the limit of 30% of what your budget is to be carried over, and really it's a part of the city, but when it's an enterprise fund, it's separate from the city operations, but still a part of it, so I'm not sure where that falls.
Okay. I know that was tossed around a little bit, and that's the first I'd ever heard of that, but I was just curious as if there is a limit, what that limit is. Because obviously that'd make a difference with us moving forward as far as allocating those funds in the direction that we would recommend. Obviously, it's just a recommendation, but, you know, we've gone all these years without having a reserve. We're minimal, and now the last 3 or 4, we're doing really well. And if there's a limit, then we can earmark that for, at least make recommendations accordingly, that we're anticipating this much extra revenue, that, all right, for phase 3, we're going to set aside these funds if we have to. If there's no limit, then, which to me seems like an enterprise fund, you'd be able to have whatever, but I don't know that. And I'm guessing you don't either. Okay.
And I get it. If there's a limit, there's a limit. But again, communicate it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, communicate it. And I don't want it to come off either that I don't think that we shouldn't have to, you know, put money towards this project. Like, I'm not saying that at all. But communicate it. You know, I mean, that's where my biggest frustration is. You know, and now if something blows up on the golf course now that we're going to use those funds for, and now we're not going to be able to because we put it towards this project, so be it. But I don't want to hear it from this table either as to why didn't you have the money in your account, right? Like, I don't want to hear that either. You know, there needs to be some give and take there, but yeah, I just am, to be honest with you, kind of shocked at people in these positions that don't communicate the basics of these things.
Well, not to beat the dead horse, but by having to contribute that, if we back up to the time when we decided to go ahead with the project, had we known that, that's a decision factor in whether you're going to move ahead or not because of the ask. And I know our ask kept going up because of the cost of doing business went up. But ultimately, we ended up with a $160,000 bill at the end that we didn't anticipate at the very beginning when we started, whatever that percentage would be moving forward. And like Joel said, the communication part of it would be, sit down with us and let's come up with a game plan moving forward. What are your goals as a board and budget-wise and stuff like that? And it's just, that part of it's frustrating.
And we're not experts in this, and I defer to the people who are the experts in this, but I also expect them to explain the process to us. And at no point in time had it ever been brought forward that, oh, hey, by the way, here's a bill for $160K, right? Like, at no point in time did that ever come up when the mayor came to the meeting and when Stephanie came to the meeting, or in any of my involvement in any of the stuff, which I realized I got in halfway through all this, right, is when my term started. But, yeah, like, the whole thing has just been a soap opera, from the veto to then all of a sudden we didn't know what we were voting on to overturn a veto, because the language wasn't clear, and, get an email saying, hey, sorry, I messed that up. Like, that's great. I appreciated, the coming in and saying, hey, my bad on that veto. But, like, the whole thing has just been one thing after another, after another, after another. And like I said, they've all been unforced errors. But, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think we're going to get a fantastic project out of it, right? And we'll forget how we got there. Once it's done, we'll forget all these ups and downs. I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to get a great project, and the city's going to get a fantastic golf course out of it, and we already have a great reputation in the state, and I think it's only going to help it, right? But I would just like to see the lines of communication open up going forward.
Go both ways.
Anything else on phase two? All right, let's need a motion to move into executive session in accordance with SDCL 125-2, subsection 5, discussing marketing and or pricing strategies.
So move.
Joel? Lynette? Beat you to it, Joe. It's all right.
Good.
Spread it around a little
Close
bit.
the doors there.
All those in favor say aye.
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 So moved.
Motion to come out of executive session by Joel.
That was so moved, I said. It's not what it sounded like when it came out, but holy smokes.
It's the last time.
Lynette, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are out. And yep, December 11th will be our next meeting, and we are adjourned.